pop music right now, at least, though I don't listen to a lot of current pop music. I think we are at a time where I appreciate a lot of what is happening in pop music. Where in like a couple episodes ago, you were bringing up like 2000s pop music. Like you look back at that, and it's just like all cookie cutter kind of music. Where I think right now, pop music has a lot of artists that are actually really like pushing what it can be. Like Taylor Swift, I think even with this new album is still it shows that she's still challenging herself as a songwriter, like 100 gecs, though I don't really get it. It's like some crazy music, and I don't know. There's just some wild stuff. Billie Eilish is as well, being like another one of the biggest artists. Like these are things that in the 2000s would not have been popular at all, but right now are just like over millions and billions of views and stuff. It's wild.
Yeah, I suppose that is true. I guess people's young, especially like Gen Zers, they have access to so many things that I think that like are they have I think that the music they listen to represents way more influences and is drawing from way more sources than like ever before. And I think I am optimistic about that. Like I really like the fact that someone like Tyler the Creator can be so popular, and I while still like being so outwardly like and sometimes awkwardly just like does it his own way, and I really respect that, and I think that there's a lot of really exciting stuff happening in the world of like the top tier most popular stuff. But I also feel like there's still always going to be that crust of like the just like why is this on the radio type stuff, and I
Yeah,
don't think
no,
it
for
ever
sure.
yeah, I don't think it ever makes as much impact, and I don't think it has the staying power, but it always confuses me. Like that one song, God, it's so annoying, but it was on the radio so much a few months ago. It's like the Dance Monkey song or whatever.
I don't know
Oh
that
God. Oh
one.
God. It's so awful. It's so inescapably like catchy, but in the worst possible way. It's just like it's basically like a super auto-tuned, like high-pitched, like chirpy squirrel voice singing this like weird dance monkey song over like a very like bouncy dance rhythm, and it's the strangest thing to ever be popular. Like I don't understand. I guess it's just like suburban moms who just like I don't know, like listen to whatever the radio puts on, and they're like, oh, it's stuck in my head, so I'll like continue to listen to it when I get home.
Welcome to Strange Conversations, where rock and roll isn't dead. It's just getting a reboot, a new cast, new director. This time, we're doing it right. It's really gonna happen with rock and roll. But interestingly enough, we're not doing anything super rock and roll, I guess, this week for the topic. More just a chance for Dylan and I to vent about all of our ideas, extended universes in cinema, or I don't even know if you can call it cinema. It's a whole other conversation. But in the
Right, Marcus,
cinemas,
Daisy.
all the extended universe movies, Marvel, Star Wars. And there's a lot of stuff we want to get into, but yeah, we just wanted to have some fun with this one. Not talk about music as much, but talk about the Marvel movies and all that fun stuff.
I had a weird time when it feels weird not having a Marvel movie like
Yeah,
coming out.
cinema movies are dead right now, and there's no
Yeah,
movies coming out.
yeah. I think
Black Widow was the next one coming.
they're supposed to
And
have already come out.
is it? I
Yeah,
yeah, like twice. It's
May.
already supposed to
Yeah.
come out. And I think it has maybe a November or an October release date
No
at the
shot.
moment, but we'll see. At this point, it'll probably just be straight to video on demand.
The first straight to DVD Marvel movie.
Yeah.
An
So,
MCU movie. Sorry, there were lots of straight to DVD Marvel movies during my childhood.
but yeah, I don't know. I wasn't like super pumped for Black Widow or anything. I didn't think it was a great kind of kickoff, especially obviously spoilers for the Marvel Endgame movie. But Black Widow dies, and so I just like not super invested in the character anymore. So it's like, why would I care about this movie as much when I don't? I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
her arc has kind of concluded in a sense where this is just
I
a
get
weird placement into it.
yeah, I get the feeling that it hasn't, honestly. I kind of get the feeling that the only, as much as I try to think about it in my brain, I'm like, would they really just be so sort of backdoor with it, where they're like, oh crap, we forgot to give Scarlett Johansson her own movie, like after all these years. I guess we'll let her have one after we kill her character off in the main timeline, and then like have it be a flashback movie, and like then she's like it's done. I have a strong feeling that there's going to be some post credit shenanigans about like her coming back. I just can't really see them doing it any other way. I feel like it would just feel so odd to have it be a send off that's a flashback that's yeah, that's like totally removed from the rest of the storyline. I also agree. I think the kind of like the idea of the movie really excited me at first. I was thinking like, oh, it's going to be kind of like Winter Soldier esque. It's going to be kind of like Bourne Identity, sort of like spy caper, like more kind of like thriller, political spy caper type thing. It's going to be like low key. And then at first, some of the trailers and teasers looked a little bit like that. But the more they released, the more it was like, oh, there's like campy David Harbour doing like Stranger Things dad bits. There's like,
Yeah,
oh,
Russian dad
there's
this time.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, there's they're fighting while falling through like wreckage in the sky. Like that's
Yeah.
realistic. Like,
Well,
oh yeah.
one theory I've heard that I would love to see pan out is that this movie is somehow going to introduce the Red Hulk, and we're going to see
Mm.
the Red Hulk be a bigger villain in
The
kind of the
Thunderbolts,
coming
maybe.
movies. Yeah, yeah. So I don't have a lot of background to give on that
Yeah.
theory, but
Well, that
it's
could be
something
true,
I could see
actually.
happening with like Black Widow's character in the MCU kind of being tied to the Hulk and
Yeah.
having that odd romance in the Age of Ultron. um,
I could. That was strange.
yeah,
I could totally see that.
where that's what she's going back to investigate is they somehow got the Hulk genes and are trying to like make it in Russia or something like that. And I'm excited to see Taskmaster though as well. Taskmaster.
Yeah.
That'll
Well,
be
there's a theory that Taskmaster is just Hawkeye.
mm.
It's
Hmm.
just Hawkeye before he turned good, and that was the whole like.
But so this movie takes place after Civil War,
See,
is what
that's
I.
what they keep telling us, but a lot of people have said that this is going to be multiple timelines. They
It's
said
not,
that she
huh.
goes back after Civil War to like investigate something, but there's going to be lots of scenes also set further back in the past.
Flashing back and stuff. Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
which
That
is
could
like
be cool.
yeah, um, yeah. I think the Red Hulk and like the Thunderbolts theory is compelling to me because one of the more interesting and if I'm being honest, maybe slightly unrealistic because it's Marvel and Disney we're talking about here, and this does sound like a really kind of daring and risky plan for like phase. What are we in? Phase four, phase five, phase four? Did we
Five?
just end
I
phase four? Yeah, I think
think
phase.
we ended phase four.
Yeah, there are a couple different like YouTubers that I think do a really good job with like critiquing, but also appreciating like the Marvel movies. But they were presenting the theory that because Zemo is coming back for the Winter Soldier Falcon show, That Zemo's whole thing is that he's not really like a physical fighter. He's not, obviously he's not like a super soldier, or like he doesn't have superpowers. Not a formidable physical fighter, but he's very
He's just
smart
crafty.
and he's crafty. And his plan to kind of get the superheroes to kill each other didn't work out so well in Civil War. I've heard that people think they're reintroducing Zemo because they're gonna use him as the catalyst to focus Phase 5 not on a new Avengers team assembling, but on like an Axis of Evil supervillain team assembling. And
that could be cool.
Yeah, and that will be the impetus behind having to reform a new Avengers. Like a team of supervillains that no single hero can take on their own will come together, like Zemo, Red Hulk. I guess Mandarin is going to be in Shang-Chi. I'm blanking on like other villains I've heard that'll be in the movies, but like all these villains will come together, like maybe led by Zemo, maybe led by Red Hulk, and that will force like Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, whoever the new Captain America is, like Scarlet Witch, like a few of the newer characters, Shang-Chi, whoever Eternals characters, I guess they don't kill in the Eternals movie. I don't know.
I forgot about that.
I know that I always forget about too. I have a feeling that that's going to be. I don't know.
I'm so interested to see how they just have to really change the Marvel formula moving forward, because I don't want another set of, because we have a lot of new heroes that are about to be introduced in this next phase, and I don't want another set of Marvel origin movies. Like I hate like origin stories at this point. They're so boring. I don't need to see like a kid getting beaten down, and then all of a sudden gets the powers, stands up, and wins. Like I don't need that story anymore. I don't know. They just like, you can at this point they've set up a universe where I'm hoping they're really just gonna throw you in with these characters now that they don't like magic. We know there's magic in this world. We know that there's space. Like they don't have to set up all these things anymore. Where it's just like, all right, here we are in this part of the universe, in this part of the universe. I'm just interested to see with all these movies coming out how they change that formula.
Yeah. I agree with you, but I agree with you more in that I don't necessarily have a problem with origin movies. I have a problem with Marvel origin movies because the way you described it is perfectly accurate. They're always, regardless of the character, regardless of their specific like origin, setting, quirks, powers, whatever, they're always the exact same. It's always like the same formulaic thing. But the origins for Doctor Strange and the origins for Spider-Man should have totally different tones. And I think going forward, they need to acknowledge that. Like if they're going to introduce Shang-Chi, and if they're going to maybe introduce, people have rumored like Ghost Rider or Moon Knight, confirmed. Moon Knight
Moon Knight. Oh my god, I forgot. Like
they have to be.
When are those getting going?
They have to be totally different. Like Shang-Chi, I want to see a really cool kind of mystical, mythic, like kung fu movie that is like, I don't know, like Mandarin is the villain, so it's going to be like there's going to be like magical kind of elements. I don't want it to be done in the way that Iron Fist was done. Like I want it to be done in a more exciting and like engaging way. But that's obviously like that needs to have a way different tone than like if they introduce, as people have said that they might, Ghost Rider in the next in the next Doctor Strange movie. Like that should be done, like it should be scary. Like I literally think they should like push that PG-13. Like Ghost Rider should be like he's in a pact with a demon, like the devil or whatever. Like it should be like scary. He should be like a dark character who's not like making quips all the time. Like he should seem tormented.
I was just gonna say that's one of my biggest complaints about the Marvel universe at this point is they try to keep every movie within the same tone.
Yeah.
And I really wish individual superheroes had their own like tone and setting in a movie. And one movie I think that did that super duper well was Thor Ragnarok. It felt like a Marvel movie while also feeling like something in its own universe. Like Taika Waititi did such a great job of making it like a Marvel movie, but also it's just you don't have to watch any of the other Thor movies to hop into that and to like just have a great time.
Yeah, I
And I
totally
want to see more of that in these movies where, yes, it is a Marvel movie, but like they're saying this Doctor Strange one is going to be like a quote unquote horror movie. Like, is it really
agree.
going to have that tone, or is it going to be like a spooky moment and
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be like, oh no, my cape is too tight,
Yeah, exactly.
and then everyone's going to laugh. Is it going
They
to be
really
that, or is it
they really
actually going to
gotta
be a
they gotta
strange
get rid
film?
of that. They have to get rid of that. It's such a crutch. It's such a Marvel movie specific crutch. The like anything, any dramatic, any tense moment, any character moment, any genuine emotion, they always immediately undercut it with a lame joke. And like it might get a half a laugh in the moment, but after repeated rewatching, it's like, goddamn, like I almost shed a tear, and then freaking Robert Downey Jr. had to say some dumb shit. Like, God forbid I feel something in this movie other than just like, ooh.
Like one character who I can appreciate that with is Spider-Man. But those
Yeah,
Spider-Man movies, they've done a great job, I think, with balancing the quip and action.
yeah.
I like every the two Spider-Man movies, in my opinion, are probably my top five of the favorites, especially because it was an origin story done right. Because we were already like we knew Spider-Man and stuff, so they didn't
Yeah.
walk us through it all, and
I think the
this
more,
it's just fun.
yeah.
And
And
the
I
villains
think,
too. The
oh,
villains
they're
are
so
so
good.
made movies.
Oh, so good. They play the villain connection so well, and I think that's the one thing that Spider-Man has always like. That's always the one thing that's always made Spider-Man stories super compelling is that there's always been like multiple levels of connection between Spider-Man, the villain, Peter Parker, and the villain's identity, like as a person, whether it's Adrian
Yeah,
Toomes or and they do that really really well. Like there's multiple levels of like, oh, you're Spider-Man, you're Peter Parker, you're Adrian Toomes, you're the Vulture. Like they did that phenomenally well in both movies. I think the more I like kind of go back and rewatch and think about how the movies sit within this larger storyline that we have, I keep coming back around to I just absolutely adore Civil War. I
yeah.
think Civil War both for me shows how like as much as Endgame always hits me in the gut and I always do cry at the end, the more I watch the final battle, the more I realize it's kind of dumb when you think about it. Not like the battle itself, the visuals are amazing, like the fight choreography is amazing, but some of the things going on in the fight are dumb. Like the
Yeah.
fact that if you think about, oh, Winter Soldier is just like on the ground, just shooting people with a regular gun, but they're like alien. Like it's like he should probably be doing something other than like running and like shooting people. It's
Like
like
that movie is just all built around pure hype, and
exactly,
it was amazing. And like that's what you
exactly,
watch it for, is just this moment of like, yeah, they're doing it. Like they were losing, but now they're winning. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But Civil
exactly.
War is really just like conflict, and like
Yeah,
the fights are like, oh man, they're
they're
just like,
emotionally and character charged, and that's why my favorite battle, or rather my favorite part of the battle in Endgame, isn't when they all run at each other. That part is fucking epic as shit, and I love the Avengers assemble, and like it's great hearing the music swell. But then you start thinking about it too much and it starts to feel dumb. But my favorite fucking part is when it's just Thor, Iron Man, and Cap going against Thanos. Like,
yeah.
oh my god, it's so good because then you see the dynamics of the characters, how they fight, how their personality comes through in how they fight, and you get a sense of like how formidable the villain is. You really feel like shit, any one of them could die like at any moment. It feels like it has stakes and they get to have payoff moments. And you get that in Civil War because it's much smaller scale. It's like 5 versus 5, and they get moments where like Spider-Man fighting Falcon and Winter Soldier, or like
It's,
Spider-Man fighting Captain America,
especially
or
that final fight, that like fist
oh
fight
my
between
god,
Captain
yes.
America and Iron Man. You're just like, I don't even know who I'm rooting
There
for
and
anymore.
there's
Like, just
character,
hug, please, just
yeah.
hug.
There's character moment after character moment, like, and it's like evenly dispersed. Like you have I never thought in my mind I would see Iron Man confront the Winter Soldier about killing his parents. But like the line where he's like, "Do you even remember them?" And Bucky's like, "I remember all of them." It's like, okay, like that's a great character moment, like for Bucky that they didn't even like need to consider. Like he's basically just a kind of non-factor in this. It's about Captain America and Iron Man, but they managed to work in small character moments, and like especially like Captain America defending Bucky and saying like he's my friend, and Iron Man, I was too. It's like it shows you the stakes while making it feel like thematically all connected. And I think like one of the qualms I had about Infinity War and Endgame was that I don't think they played the fracture of Civil War as serious enough. Like they started off Infinity War with Iron Man basically just about to call Captain America, and it was just like minor inconveniences got in the way, and he didn't get to do that. But I think they really should have made it about like, no, I don't like Steve is not my friend. I don't trust him. Like his best friend killed my family. Like they should have made it like a much bigger thing. But I think that would have been maybe too mature.
I think it also just that was already such an. I mean, both movies did a pretty amazing job of packing a lot of character arcs. Where that was an arc I think that would have been difficult to pack in when you're including every other Marvel character.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's tough, and so I don't know. This is very off topic from what we're just talking about, but just kind of thinking about this like culmination of Marvel. I'm so bummed thinking about the Netflix Marvel series where I know like the Defenders was kind of a bust, but I think like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil all like individually, and Punisher even too was a pretty awesome show. Like those three or four series like were pretty great, and we were promised like those to come together kind of in the end of this, but that all fell apart. But just like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, in my opinion, are two of like the best Marvel adaptions that we've gotten, in the sense where it's not that Marvel tone that we were talking about earlier. Like it's something else. It's something fresh. Like yes, it has the funny quips sometimes, but it just like gets dark, and the fights are just brutal and gut busting. And like in Daredevil, like obviously the hallway scene jumps to mind, where it's just like, oh my god, like ooh, that whole like season one, like every season of Daredevil had some amazing moments. Part 2 of season 2, I think, is its weakest moment, but like seasons like 1, first half of 2, and all of 3 are such exciting TV to watch.
Yeah, I'm still holding on to hope that, especially with this sort of lull caused by COVID in like the MCU, that we might get to that. I think it's 5 years after the final episode that those characters become available to Marvel again. And so if you're going off the final episode of like Daredevil season 3, whenever that premiered, I think we've honestly already eclipsed like 3 years. I think in 2 years, Daredevil becomes open game for Marvel to use again. And I just really, really, really hope they keep some of those actors and keep some of the general story work. Like, I know they can't use anything that was like done there, but if they can at least get Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, and I think John Bernthal is an amazing Punisher. I think Kristen.
I think John Bernthal has spoken out about not wanting to be in the MCU. Like he's pretty done with superhero stuff. I think after his Punisher run.
Yeah, and also I think it's also we're living in a moment where I think the Punisher as a hero feels really wrong. I think he'd make a much better villain at the moment.
I think like with also with the alt-right kind of dot of the Punisher logo.
Yeah. But I would, oh my god, I'd lose it if, even if it was just like a little sequence, a small scene of like a Spider-Man movie where he gets to like, take down the Punisher with Daredevil or something like.
Oh, I would love a Daredevil Spider-Man movie, and a totally other. And there's so many things going on in Marvel. Like we haven't even gotten on to Star Wars or DC. A lot to talk about. But the next Deadpool movie is going to be in the MCU.
Oh yeah. I
So
heard
that
that he's gonna exist in like a pocket universe though.
yeah, well he's Deadpool, so I think they're just gonna like get weird with it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he has the time traveling bit, so maybe he'll kind of create other timelines or something that'll play into it. But like we have that, we have the TV shows and these next set of movies, but I don't know when to expect everything at this point
No.
with
No.
COVID. I
Yeah.
think the TV like I'm sure most of the TV shows are probably done with
I
shooting at
hope.
this point, I think,
Yeah.
and they're probably keeping everything under wraps. I know WandaVision, I'm pretty sure, is like ready to go. I
Yeah,
think.
I think they said that the first slate of things was going to be like Black Widow would launch it off, Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision would be the next two things, and then I think there was the Eternals. I think that was like the roadmap for what we would get right off the back.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder too. Like, is Black Widow holding some plot points that will
Yeah,
put
I think
us?
so. I think so.
Yeah,
I honestly think that's what it is. And I think at a certain extent, like I think they just need to decide, like, hey, if we can't launch in theaters, like why don't we just do like, you know, a movie ticket priced rental, and you get the movie for like 24 hours or 12 hours or like hell, even like 6 hours. And you pay the price like through some website, like a ticket price, and then it lets you watch the movie at home.
people will still like get like that movie will still make
Oh
its
yeah.
due.
Oh yeah.
People like at this point are really needing a Marvel movie. We haven't
Yeah.
gotten any trailers for any upcoming ones. Like they need
Yeah.
a dose of Marvel.
I feel like I feel like we've talked a lot about how we've enjoyed the character payoff that's extended throughout all these different movies in the Marvel and the MCU, and how they've done a really good job. They've clearly had the planning, they've had the consistent writers, they've had a consistent vision for this four phase chunk. I feel like if maybe we want to, for a brief second, talk about the inverse of that, there are two options. I feel like the DCEU is only an option because they tried to rush it. I feel like more so the antithesis to the MCU in terms of like planning characters, getting payoff over the long time, and having a consistent vision. I honestly think the antithesis to that is Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think because that just shows how you can have an amazing, phenomenal start with consistency, with exceptional results, with exceptional payoff, plotting, characters, story. And if you don't have that plan, or if you do have a plan and you just rush to get to the end without any consideration of the bits and pieces, you just have a hot turd.
Did we watch that finale together?
I think so.
We
I
watched it. I
remember.
think we watched that a good chunk of that season
Yeah,
together.
I think we did, and I think I feel like I remember just like my first reaction being like, "Is that really it?"
Yeah, every episode we were just like, wait, I thought like they promised us like these cinematic episodes, and yes, they did have like some exciting moments, but the plot armor was so
Oh.
thick. Like there was like 8 moments in the White Walker battle where I was like, whoa, like 8 main characters just died in that, and then it like cuts to them just like, ugh, ugh, slash my sword left and right, but not dying. And it's like, wait, we just saw like a wave of White Walkers engulf that whole
Yeah.
corner.
Oh man, it hurt. Really
It
hurts to
hurt.
think about it because I have kind of come to the terms that I really don't think we're ever going to get an end to the books, if I'm being honest. Or at least I don't think we'll get an end to the books fully written and realized by George R. R. Martin. I think he might have a plan that he'll like give to somebody if he dies before he finishes it. But even then, it's an adaptation. It's somebody making do with what they got, and this first go at it does not give me hope for. I just think it'll probably honestly we'll see in like a decade or 2 decades we'll see some Netflix, they'll buy the rights and they'll do like an even crazier adaptation that like really tries to get like everything from the books crammed in. I don't know. It's like it's left such a sour taste in my mouth that as much as I want to reread the books to try to prep myself for like if the sixth book will ever come out, I'm just like, I don't know. I just can't like I can't get disappointed again.
Yeah. My big disappointment and sadness in my life is just seeing the DC extended universe. For those listeners who don't know, because I don't think this podcast has reflected my sick and twisted Batman obsession that has engulfed my life. And I look around at myself and I'm carrying like 8 Batman symbols all at once with like my belt buckle, my tattoo, phone backgrounds, and keychains and this and that. It's
Basically,
wild.
the utility belt.
Yeah, it there's some moments from like maybe I should calm down on this. But I do have hope for the Robert Pattinson movies, but man, they just like really botched the DC extended universe. They just saw like Marvel doing it and they're like, we could do it too. But we're just gonna go we'll just go for it. And they decided to put Zack Snyder in charge of it to some degree, which is a terrible idea because I hate Zack Snyder and he just makes sad gray movies, and Superman's not a sad gray superhero. It should be all about Superman just being super and being a man.
He like doesn't. I don't think he like gets like. I think he reminds me of the guys who adapted Game of Thrones, and that I think like I just think he didn't get anything out of like what he read. Like I think he probably like read Dark Knight Rise, or what is it? The Dark Knight Returns, like the Frank
Yeah,
one, and he was like, "Sick, comic books are like gritty and dark," and like didn't get any of the deeper substance. Like I don't know. I think it's like
I don't even get why people want to see the Snyder cut of Justice League. That's not gonna save
cause
that movie at all.
cause Superman wears the black suit. He's
Right?
like
Like they're sinking like $3 billion into this reshoot and remake of this movie where it's like just make like a sweet low budget indie. All I want is indie superhero movies. I know I've said this before. I'll say it again. Give me more independent superhero movies. That's all I want.
there's got to be a sweet spot. Like I think that they need to like look. They need to consider the superheroes. They need to look at movies that made a lot of money on smaller budgets with small VFX teams and like not a lot of like crazy green screens and stuff like on-site shooting and things like that. I think they should just look at action movies that like the pre superhero phenomenon wave of action movies and look at how they made do and then pick superheroes that would work within that format. Like we talked about, I think Black Widow would have been served really well by being like a spy thriller, like a Bourne Ultimatum type spy thriller movie. I think that someone like Batman would be like an amazing option for like a true like crime detective story that has like obviously some fights and has some like moments of like superheroism, but I think it's gotta be like a caper. Like he is the caped crusader. Like he's no, wait, is that yeah? He's a caped crusader.
Yeah, he is. He is.
I was gonna say, is that's not Superman, is it?
Well,
Like
I think
he's gotta solve some mysteries, you know?
yeah. That's what I'm hope. I think Matt Reeves has said is this is really going to tap into the detective of Batman
Thank
in
God.
in this next franchise or trilogy or whatever. But I think in that sense too. Say what you want about Joker, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's good or bad. I think it really is like a triumph
Yeah.
of a comic book movie in the sense where incredibly low budget and yes, it's not like the most original of stories, but it shows that comic book movies don't always have to be a superhero movie, that comic books have a deeper substance to them, and that it doesn't have to be about a hero saving the day. It can be about a villain winning.
Yeah.
It can be about sort of like psychological battles. It doesn't have to
I
be a roller coaster of a
yeah.
movie,
I
you know?
actually totally agree. Like I I honestly think it kind of speaks to the strength of the way that movie was approached and the what the final product was, that I understand people's qualms with it. I understand the discussion about how it might approach mental illness in a problematic way. It might approach toxic masculinity or violence in a problematic way. But I think the fact that it was a comic book movie that was able to start those discussions and it was based on a character like the Joker, I think that's maybe like a good thing in the end, because then I think it makes people look at the character differently. And I think it will fundamentally change the way the Joker is written in the future, for better or for worse. I think that we're going to move away from, and I think something might be lost a little bit in it, but I think like Heath Ledger was super important and super impactful, and he changed the way the Joker has been depicted. And I think that this Joker will also do that for like future versions. And I think you'll see that like it hopefully doesn't just like super make like all super villains and superheroes like super realistic going forward and always like trying to consider like what it would be like in the real world. But I think the fact that it was well done enough and it was consistent enough in its vision of what it wanted to present, that it made people have these discussions and it made people uncomfortable. I think at the end of the day, I feel good that a character like the Joker, with motivations like the Joker, who does actions that the Joker does, I think that character in that movie kind of should make people feel uncomfortable. I don't think it should be like a movie that people are like, that was fucking sick. Like, I cannot wait to watch the Joker again. Like, it should be like, that was really uneasy. Like, that,
Yeah,
like, yeah, that was not a pleasant experience.
yeah. I I would honestly be happy if we didn't see the Joker in
Hmm.
any other DC movie for a while, because though the
Yeah.
Joker I think is an amazing villain, at this point is really played out. It's not the
Yeah.
only Batman villain. Yes, it is his nemesis, but I think Batman's like the whole catalog of villains he has
It's so
is
good. It's so
is
strong.
phenomenal. Like there's so many interesting villains to mess around with in there that all have just as much intrigue and development, or not develop or but like roundness, I guess, as the Joker. It's just they're villains with motivation. They aren't villains to be villains. They all have their reasons, in a sense. What I
Yeah.
would really love to see this Batman trilogy be is based off of the Hush storyline. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you're familiar
Yeah.
with
I
that
have.
one.
No, I've read it. I love
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. I think that would be the perfect trilogy kind of story, or at least part of it. I would really love to just see oodles and oodles of villains in these Batman movies, because I think
Yeah.
that's like what's so fun about the comics is when you're reading them, it's not like there's one villain at play in this big plan. It's everyone plays their part in this big scheme, and has trouble adds trouble for Batman. And it's not even like that they're part of a big scheme. Even it's like that there's this conflict in this side of the city, and there's this conflict in this side of the city. Like what's cool about Batman is he's just like he's out on the night watch, and he's always doing tons of crazy things all over the city. I would love that style of like, I feel like it's in more done in like late 90s or 70s movies. I don't know, but like the movies that are like take place over like a day or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. I think
Yeah.
it'd be so cool to have a Batman movie take place over the course of just one night, where like the
Well,
city is just the like Gotham is just going buck wild. There's something happening, and just in the course of the like it's prisoners break out of Arkham Asylum, and the
well,
whole night
you
trying
know
to
what
get
you're
him back.
describing right now. You know what, like, set up to basically an exact Batman storyline you're describing right now. A crazy, insane night.
Nightfall.
Yeah. And then he comes back. He's like, he's exhausted. He's dealt all this
Yeah,
stuff. And then Bane breaks him. I feel like
yeah,
Bane's been done, and that whole scene has been done. I don't think it was done very well
yeah,
in Dark Knight Rises, but yeah, I mean, I agree. I think like a one night like type Batman thing would be awesome. I think that if they could even find a way to like we've talked about earlier, like I think finding a way like have there be a Robin, like have there be like an Oracle or a Batgirl, like have there
Just
be
throw
yeah,
us in. People
don't
know about
show
Batman.
yeah, don't show Batman, don't show Bruce Wayne being like the sad, lonely, like my parents are dead all the time. Like he should have guilt, he should be motivated by things. But like Batman in the comics also has like people he cares about and like he has motivations other than just like pure vengeance and pure like I'm alone. And he's not smoldering all the time.
And if in one of these movies you threw like an audience in and he was on to his second Robin, no one would be confused. No one
No.
would be like, "Oh no, like what happened?" It'd be like, "Oh, Batman has a lot of different Robins."
Yeah.
We'll find out what happened, I guess, at some point, but Batman's just such a well-established character where you don't always have to have every character have an origin within the series. Like you can throw us in and show us all these random people who are part of the Bat family and just through storytelling establish them. You know, if people don't know about them, they will, learn about them if you're a good storyteller. It doesn't have to
Exactly.
be like I watch them from the moment that they were born to the moment that they became a hero to understand them. It's like no, the best type of superhero movie is when you're just kind of thrown into the action. Like what I think made Infinity War and Endgame such exciting movies is they were this culmination. You felt like, all right, they're not holding my hand through this. They are, they know that I'm caught up. Like I am just in these
Yeah.
movies now. And so many superheroes, I think you can just do that with. And I don't think you always have to set them up with every reboot. Like Superman as well.
Yeah.
Another hero,
We
like
don't need to see his freaking parents. We don't need to see Krypton exploding. We know who Superman is.
yeah, so all these heroes we can do without the origins the origin story. One movie I think that kind of did the origin story um, well without kind of having it slow down the story. I thought Captain Marvel did a pretty interesting job of doing an origin story while also having
Mhm.
like just the full powered hero there the whole time.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I
think the second half of Captain Marvel I enjoyed. I don't really think I liked the first half that much. Like the
I
more I
gotta
think about
rewatch
it.
it. Honestly, remember it, but I just liked that. I remember kind of being like, oh, not another origin story. But when I
Yeah.
saw it, was like, oh, they kind of just they do a good job of like speeding you through it.
Yeah. I think going back, like I think they set the formula and it got really stale really fast. But I think Iron Man 1 and Captain America 1 are both like I still happily would watch either of
Oh
those
yeah,
movies. I think they both did a fantastic job capturing the tone of the characters, teasing the universe a little bit, but like focusing just on the heroes and just like their setup. And I think they were needed because those characters, it's weird to
yeah.
think about a time when like people there was a time when people like thought that the Marvel superheroes were like dead ends. Like people were like Captain America will never ever make a good movie.
Yes,
Like
Sony like
it's
they
so
just
weird.
bought their quote when they bought Spider-Man was like, "We only need Spider." Like they could have got the whole MCU and they're like, "Fuck everything else." Like Spider-Man is the only one that can make money. If anyone thinks they can make money, like they're a fool. And lo and behold, they're like struggling with just
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Point.
It's time to give up the gun, Sony.
Oh, but
Relinquish control.
speaking of Sony, though, we're
But
about
the
to get a
games,
big.
but the games, yeah.
I mean, the games and also the animation. We're about to see a huge
True.
spike in
Oh
animation with
shit.
COVID. They said that we're gonna get a lot more of the Spider-Man esque or Into the Spider-Verse esque comic book movies, which I
Um,
like cannot wait for because Into the
yeah.
Spider is like along with I would call Scott Pilgrim the and Into the Spider-Verse like the best comic book movies in the sense where they
It's
feel
like a comic book. Yeah.
it has like the panels moving around, the sound effects, where the MCU is turning comic books into movies. Where
Yeah.
I really, really do love the Into the Spider Verse style.
I think Joel Schumacher's Batman movies are actually the best the, the best realization of comic books into movies.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those? Have you ever actually watched like nipple batsuit era Batman, George
What do you
Clooney Batman?
what do you think the answer to that question is, Dylan?
Probably yes. I
Yeah.
think you didn't like them at all, but I think
Well,
you definitely watched them.
I it's funny because like I remember as a kid like looking back like when I was a kid loving those movies and just the I think the excitement of Batman as a child is what got me through those movies, but then like when you go back you're just
Holy shit.
like so many movies when you're a kid are like, oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
effects are amazing, and like I remember rewatching The Mummy and being like, this like terrified me, but like it's
Oh,
still a fun movie, but it's just like it's so CGI ridiculous.
yeah. The my introduction to Batman as a kid, and honestly, like my introduction to superheroes as a kid was the Batman animated TV show,
Oh.
which still holds up. Still holds up. That
Mask
and
of
then
Phantasm is
that
still
movie
the best
terrified
superhero.
me as a kid. Terrified me as a kid. And
It's
honestly,
the best superhero
watched it.
movie.
Yeah, watched it a couple years ago, and it's still pretty creepy. It
It's
still
like
gives
this.
me the
It's like
willies.
Scream almost.
Yeah. Also, the Batman Beyond series that's like the build off of that one, really good too. And
that whole
the
DC
movie with the
animated
Joker. Yeah.
is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, the Justice League. Damn, that's what they should have taken inspiration from.
Yeah,
That Justice League movie and the series, that shit was good.
yeah, and it unfortunately ended because cartoons were made to sell toys for a while, and I think it was just like some toy sales were felt like not doing as hot. But like the Batman animated series, the Superman animated series, Justice League,
Spider-Man.
Justice League Unlimited, Teen Titans, all the like
Oh,
Spider-Man shows.
Yeah, the Spider-Man animated series with that theme song. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Like
And X-Men, the 80s X-Men show that they would show reruns of.
I really wish
So
people
good.
like would use animation more, and I'm excited that Sony is realizing that right now with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because I think comic books just translate so well when animated. Like I think of in Japan how manga just gets turned into anime. Not every manga gets turned into an anime, but it's so cool how they just like turn a frame by frame story into a whole series, and
Yeah.
I wish comic books got that same treatment in America sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's like unfortunately it seems to be that they have I think the success of Marvel in some sense in creating this like phenomenon, it's made it so that comic books are more prevalent than ever, but at the same time, they have become a bit of like an institution. And I think that while it seems antithetical, it seems like the more money, the more resources, the more love of them would result in more risks and more creative uses and different types and different themes and different, like from TV shows to movies to books to whatever. I think the reality is like all these people who sit in these boardrooms and make decisions, they probably are all just like, what's the next $1 billion superhero? Like, who is it gonna be? Now, now, now.
Yeah, it's not caring so much about the content as it is just about this cinematic roller coaster that has been created. Like though these Marvel movies are fun, and I do enjoy them, I think they have also kind of destroyed movies and what movies are being made right now, because now everyone wants to make like an extended universe or like a franchise or something, and it's just like it's terrible to see like Star Wars is just getting massacred because now they're trying to do all their extended universe and stuff where it's gotten out of hand, and I think that's mainly because of comic book movies. Unfortunately, as much as I love them, they've kind of put a big scar on what movies are right now.
Yeah, it's. Well, I think it started a little before like comic book movies came into vogue, but I have heard about how the movie landscape has gotten so strange to the like from what it was, where like it used to be the movies, like there was this ecosystem of putting money into new idea movies that would be like middle road, like dramas and comedies and things like that, that would be, they're not aimed at being blockbusters, but they're also not indie films. Like they are theatrical releases, they're like studios, they have resources, they have teams. And like that's like I think the where like the perfect like incubating space for superheroes would be ideally. Like I think as you talk about like those indie superhero movies, they'd work so well in this like middle ground that doesn't really exist anymore. Like I think with the way like Hollywood companies think now is that everything just has to be a blockbuster. Like there's no point in investing in anything. And I think that's now why you see there's like the indie, arty, Oscar buzz, like, you know, like film school movies, and there are the blockbusters. And like that is like basically it. Maybe once or twice a year we get a random like strange movie that doesn't fit well into those categories. Like it's usually often the more often than not, it's like a Quentin Tarantino or a Christopher Nolan movie. And it's like, it's just a movie that's a new idea, but it's a new idea off the back of a recognized name.
A big director,
yeah. Exactly. And it's like, that's just the weird state of the movie industry that we're in right now, is that there's no support, and there's no kind of institutional push towards taking risks in that middle area.
Yeah, it's really it's sad. I mean, we have companies like A24, I think.
Oh, they do such a good job.
Yeah, they do great at giving, I guess, the indie movies a bigger voice. But yeah, I really am. I mean, with COVID now too, like I think we're gonna see such a big change in how movies are released. Where I think video on demand is gonna be a bigger thing for like the lower kind of budget, more I think for a lot of kids movies as well, like with Trolls World Tour just being like wildly successful going to video on demand. I think we could see more of that happening with COVID and with just an uncertainty in movies right now, I think.
Yeah. It's strange. I have a weird feeling that like in a year or so, we're gonna have a weird desert of like no movies.
Oh yes.
Where like all the things that were supposed to be like wrapping up or like in production right now, they're just like, you know, it's just like decimated. Like they'll have a shortage.
Yeah, I know. Or maybe or all these movies being delayed are going to be released in that desert period, and it'll give them time to, like, let's see, we got Dune, Tenet, and I'm excited for Wonder Woman. I don't know about you.
I'm excited. I am too. I think out of all the DC directors and characters, I think I trust Patty Jenkins best with actually delivering like a compelling movie.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to see Kristen Wiig as Cheetah and as a villain. I think that's going to be super fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I forgot. How do you like? That would be interesting to see how they like do a character like Cheetah in a not just purely ridiculous way. Like I feel like there are always going to be those certain comic book characters that won't translate well to like being actual people acting them. Like the Flash particularly has a lot of characters like that. Like he has this guy like Mirror or something.
Yeah,
like,
Mirror Man.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, it's scary.
I think though there is something to that cheese that can be lost in the comic book movies sometimes, that I think is really important to comic books. And I think Kristen Wiig can bring that cheese in real nice.
Yeah.
Playing Cheetah, like at first I was pretty shocked at the casting, but thinking about it, I was like, that is kind of like, when you think about it, a ridiculous sort of character, and I think she'll do a fun job playing it, and I'm really excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that armor. That poster is one of the coolest superhero movie posters, I think. I think honestly ever. I think that's the one. That is the one thing that DC absolutely trashes on Marvel with. Is DC consistently has dope posters.
Yeah, it's not just a face stack.
Yeah. Oh my God. Marvel posters are so boring and like, sometimes so bad.
The main character's head is really big. Then we're gonna put the other characters a little smaller below and kind of stack them. And
the Justice League, as bad as Justice League was, that one Justice League poster they released with the characters on the black background looked so sick. It looked like that one artist. Who is
Alex Ross? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It looked like his art, and I was like, they kind of know what they're doing. They like they're. It's a reference. I get it.
Yeah, they do a good job marketing. Unfortunately, the
execution's not there. There's like an artist I think on Instagram I've seen who does like poster redesigns for Marvel movies, and I remember seeing a couple that he had made that were like amazing, but I don't know. I don't know if like. I don't know if I could find it at the moment. I just remember like seeing. I think it was for Infinity War. I saw one that was like really cool. Yeah, I'm not really seeing it at the moment. These are all just like fan art things. But we haven't even really talked about Star Wars. But I feel like
I know
get down that rabbit hole. I feel like.
We've fallen deep. I think we still have a little time. I think we can touch on Star Wars. I think at this point this episode isn't about music.
No, not at all.
I heard that they're gonna make the newest trilogy, that they're gonna like retcon it and just have it be its own like thing.
Really?
So like the Mandalorian and stuff can start its own universe and stuff, and like this new trilogy is just like, yeah, it happened, but it didn't happen. It's not gonna be like fully canon.
Oh my God, it's so broken. That's so sad. Like,
It's a bummer because Force Awakens, I was so hyped when I saw that movie. Yes, it was a rehash of A New Hope, but when I first saw it, I was really excited. I had a great time.
Yeah, that was probably until Endgame. That was probably my best movie seeing experience, like in a theater. It was the most excited I've ever been. Like waiting in line, like just seeing people have like a genuine, exciting, like cinematic experience. And I think just like all the internet like shit posters and all the people doing their like it's just a retread, like it's nothing new. It's like like we kind of understand that. I think that soured the film a bit for me for a while. And I think more than anything though, I think what really has like made me upset is that the way it ended, episode 9, God, I don't even want to go into episode 9, but
that's a whole episode.
It's a whole episode. The more I like think about it, and the more I think about what the movie was about and the directions that it was trying to push Star Wars in, I really do love episode 8. Like I really do. I think it's aged really well. I think that there's dumb shit in it. There is some really, really dumb shit in it. I think that there's some terrible pacing. Like there's big plot holes. Like I'll fully admit to all that. But there are some amazing themes. Like it's the strongest, it's the most new themes we've ever gotten from a Star Wars movie.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the only one that felt like something new. The first one was exciting and it was a rehash. The second one, when I first saw it, I really didn't like it. But then after seeing the third one and reflecting on the first one, I was like, man, actually, like The Last Jedi is maybe the best of this trilogy. Like it has some pretty wild, like the Kylo Ren Rey moments in that movie are the best in like the whole trilogy, and then it's just ruined in the third one when it's like, wait, what? They kissed?
Yeah, it's like, oh no.
I thought they were like brother and sister.
Yeah, and it's like what, like that movie like leaves you with questions and with like it like wrestles with some of the like black and white morality like assumptions that are built into Star Wars that I really love. And it's like there are great takeaways from that movie. There's great takeaways about like failure and like finding hope and like what it means to like resist and like fail in certain ways and like not get the expected outcomes. Like it's not like it doesn't have a heroic end. It's got that sort of middle of the trilogy kind of Empire Strikes Back vibe to it. It's a bit darker, but it has like a really hopeful ending and it has really powerful themes, especially with like the story of Luke and how Luke plays out like his role in that story. And then it's like, what does episode 9 leave you with? What the fuck is the theme of episode 9?
I just like I can't even get into that movie because the more I talk about it, the angrier I get because I just remember all these other corners and pockets of the movie where I'm like, they crammed so much shit into this terrible, terrible movie. In the end, they try to recreate the Endgame scene where they're like, "We're here, Lando and Chewie, all these characters that you didn't know existed in the universe. We're here to help," and you're like, "What?" Now they're running on horses on top of the spaceships. Man, it just keeps. I don't even want to start on it.
Yeah, it's
The Mandalorian's cool though, right?
Mandalorian is really cool. I want them to go even further with. I like Baby Yoda. The I like the dynamic that they've set up between like the kind of parental figure, like he's trying to protect it. I get like a little bit of like there's a really old comic book called like Samurai Wolf and Pup or something like that, where it's like a samurai who like has a baby like with him and he just like travels the land and like protects the baby. And but it's also about like raising the child to be like better and like not violent. And it's like it's got like themes.
I
I
just
just
kind of
don't
wish it
want them to go
wasn't.
too. Yeah, I don't want them to go too forcey. I don't want them to go too Jedi. I don't want like. I don't want. I want to avoid that.
But I think that's what we're about to get. We know Ahsoka Tano has been cast and will be in it. We know that there's like the black lightsaber and like Baby Yoda's been using the Force and stuff. So it's I don't know. Like I do like that kind of dynamic, but I wish it was just any like it didn't have to be a Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
I just kind of wish it was something totally different.
What I do appreciate though about it, as much as I will gripe on like I don't want any more Jedi stuff, like I don't want to see too much Force stuff. I do like the way in which the Baby Yoda using the Force was kind of handled. I really like the sense of wonder that exists in like 4 and 5, and I like seeing characters interact with the Force who have no idea about it, because then I think it reiterates that this isn't some dumb science thing that has like rules. Like I hate the whole midichlorian thing. I hate the whole like when everyone uses the Force and it's just like who can force off better, like when people are like trying to like push each other with the Force and there's all this like shit happening. I don't like when people are like throwing stuff around with the Force and it's just like a dumb like D&D spell basically. Like I don't think that's the right way to do it. I like the sort of like mythical kind of like spiritual like sense of connectedness and like the reiteration that like it is, I don't know, it's something higher than just a tool, like a weapon. Like I think like it feels wrong when you see the Jedi characters who are supposed to be better, like using the Force to like throw people around and like fucking like do like crazy like telekinetic attacks and shit. Like shouldn't there be like an idea that that's like a blasphemous thing to do for somebody who like, I think the way Luke uses the Force in episode 8 is like commendable. He uses it to save people and he kills nobody and he like makes himself, like a martyr. But like that's the kind of shit I like. And I like the seeing like Baby Yoda do innocent but like kind of mythical, confusing things with the Force. I like that way more than like seeing like people do like triple flips and like throw stormtroopers into turbines and stuff. Like keep that in the video games. It's a lot of fucking fun in the video games, but like make it feel more thematic in the movies.
Yeah, it's Star Wars is just kind of lost, I think, all sense of building
itself.
a universe where
Yeah.
now it's just like, it doesn't matter where we are in the timeline. Like they can have whatever. Like in the past, it's way more like the future, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Do you know what's kind of sad?
You can be on any planet and have any sort of creature, and it's like, I guess that's in the Star Wars universe now. Like,
You know what's kind of
there's really
sad?
no sense of consistency.
Yeah, and do you know what's kind of sad? Like, literally the way you phrased that made me think with this whole, like, Star Wars Disneyland park. It's literally like the movies they've just become like a theme park. Like, they're
Yeah.
just a place, they're just like it's a setting to visit and just like muck around a bit and like have an excuse to buy like a t-shirt. It's like, that's the way Disney's kind of treating Star Wars. Like, I think it went from being something that, I don't want to get like too artsy or like, you know, like philosophical with it, but I think it went from something that like not the prequels, not the fucking prequels. I'm talking about like 4, 5, and 6. It was something that had like a meaning and it meant something to people and it had a theme and a story to tell. And it just became so big that now it's gotten to the point where it's like it's just an excuse to sell toys. And it always was a reason to sell toys. It always did sell toys, but it just feels especially pointless now, and I don't know why. Like it doesn't feel like people talk about, they're like, oh, but like this new trilogy is like, it's what's gonna inspire like young people. It's like, I'm capable of feeling inspired by movies too, and I don't feel shit when I watch episode 9. I feel sad. I feel like I'm watching like a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, it's sad to just see these things, all this content we love, be thrown and trashed around. But as we get to the end here, Dylan, even though all this content gets these weird remakes and reboots, are you gonna watch them?
Yeah, I'm a shill.
Me
fucking
too.
soulless shill.
I know. I'll watch the next Suicide Squad. I'll watch.
That's where I draw the line, buddy. That's where
I'll probably watch the Snyder Cut. If I'm being honest, I'm gonna watch it. I've sold my soul at this point to the bat, so.
Even the bat flick?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to. It's my duty. That's what I've signed up for.
I do think we need more like dad age Batman. That's the one thing I do like about Batfleck. I like the old thick
Daddy Bat.
Daddy Batman. Thick Daddy Batman.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been another strange conversation. We didn't even talk about the bracket we got going on over on our Instagram at strange.convo.pod. You can vote there and have your favorite indie foundation band win. That's from, what's the time frame? 67 to 77?
Yeah,
kinda, roughly.
in there. I think it's the good rule of thumb is we're looking at a time period from the Velvet Underground's debut to the Talking Heads debut.
Yeah.
That's a kind of fun bookend, 2 bookends.
I think the Raincoats were the latest band we had in there, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think their album technically didn't fall within that time frame, but their formation did.
Yeah. But they didn't make it through, so it's okay. They lost. But yeah, head over there, check out. We just finished round 2 this weekend. By the time this episode is up, we will be getting round 3 underway. Really getting to the end here.
Damn. The semifinals. The the 8. What is 8? It's not Sweet
Grade
16. Grade 8. That's terrible. The others all have such nice alliteration.
I think our next episode 2 is going to be the Fontaine's DC new album.
Ooh, I'm very excited for that. It comes out in 4 days. Damn.
Yeah, the 30th. So
3 days.
Get ready for some more post-punk as we talk about many an episode here.
Many.
Thanks for tuning in. As always, I've been Austin Kenny.
And I've been Dylan Bennett.
And we still are those people.
Still them, and I don't know how to make a pun that relates to...
I'll MC you next time.
I bid you a SCEU. A do you get it? Like I don't know.
Yeah.